Putting new batteries into the microphone because this weather seems to chew up our batteries. Also we have a friend, my name is Simon, this is Stephen, and we have a friend all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. So that would, he loves this kind of weather.
I haven't felt my toes for 3 days.
I arrived in Canada just about 14 years ago. I was not planning to come to this country. I just simply arrived in this country. It's true, it sounds weird, but it's true. I arrived in this country without planning to come. I'll share with you just briefly how I ended up here. I'll be very, very brief on that. We had to make a decision at a very young age because Romania used to have some really intense laws. It's not like that anymore. But back in those days, it was mandatory to go to the army. They would force you to go, and if you're a Christian, they would persecute you and punish you just because you're different. And a lot of people escaped the country, young fellows, just because they didn't want to go through that. My brother ended up escaping into Italy, where the Italian government had an amnesty law, and he accepted, people like him to stay there. A few years later, when I was old enough that I knew they were going to drift me and force me to go to the army, I simply escaped. I didn't tell anybody. I'd made my way through the mountains. I walked most of the way. I went through Hungary, through Austria, and then into Italy. Now, I honestly can say one thing without a doubt. I wouldn't be here today if the Almighty God would have not done some of the most amazing miracles that you can think. It wasn't easy because they had border patrols with guns and they weren't afraid to use them. But the challenge it became as I was making my way from Austria into Italy through the big mountains. They call those the Alps. And I was trying to keep up with the main highway because that was the only way I knew where I was heading. But that highway, you can't walk on it because they drive very fast and the police would pick you up in no time. So I had to walk somewhere far enough from the highway that nobody would see me and I would look suspicious, but yet close enough that I wouldn't lose sight of it. As I was making my way through the mountains, at times the highway would go through the tunnels in the mountain and come down the other side. So in order for me to keep up with the highway, I would have to climb the mountains and come down the other side. When you do that a few times, but it gets very challenging because in many cases it would take me days to simply climb one piece of the mountain and come down the other side. Now every time I would come on the other side, I would quickly realize that the highway popped right out, except one time. When I climbed the mountain and came the other side, I couldn't find the highway anymore. And as I was searching and looking around, I quickly realized there was not even a road. In other words, I was lost. I started praying and I was hoping God would lead me to find some homes or some sort of shelter. A few hours later that night, I walked what appeared to be a few homes, and as I walked closer, I realized there were not too many homes, but they were just about 3 buildings. And I thought, well, at least I have a place to find shelter if I get attacked by a few cars, and I got close enough to realize, to look at the license plate, but I also realized they were all police cars. With a few dogs started barking loud, I started running like a bullet. I was gone. Now I kept looking back to make sure the dogs are not catching up with me. And as I was running in the darkness, at one point I lost my footage, and feet first I started sliding on a very steep hill. I was going on my back as fast, and I kept catching speed. Now with your arms dangling in the air, you just hope and pray that somehow at one point you will stop. Well, I did. A little bush tree came right under my armpit and caught my fall. Now with half of my body dangling over the edge, I could hear the loose rocks falling down in the darkness. Now those moments, I like to call those miracles. I like to think that God had something to do with that little tree there. Maybe God had even the sense of humor, and he told the angels when they planted the tree, a little more to the left, okay, that's a good spot. Jesus